It's Wednesday, it's wild, it's wacky, and this is Main Street Sports Today presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, taking you through the next 2 hours right here as we talk sports of local, regional, and national importance. So buckle up. Might get a little bumpy, actually, particularly in the second hour. We will be visiting with Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, talking about the latest coaching move in baseball in the Southeastern Conference. And I got some thoughts. But we will be speaking in the next segment with TERESA Walker, the queen of Tennessee sports media, as the NBA draft looms round one this evening. Hopefully she'll have an idea of what the Grizzlies are going to do because we don't. So also want to talk a little Preds with her as there was some news that came out as usual after we went off the air. So we'll touch on that as well. We'll get TERESA to double up a little bit. But talking a little Braves, they're off to a good start right now. Talking a little Astros, they had a great win last night. And whatever else we can get to between now and 4 o'clock. So it's going to be fun. Wade, happy hump day.
Happy hump day to you, man. How's things in Moland on this glorious Wednesday?
Here in the Lee Company studios in Franklin, between segments, I think I'm going to have to go and adjust the air conditioning actually because it's a little warm in this Lee Company studio. But how about things with you?
Things are good. We're ripping and running. Like you said, we've got a ton of topics to get into. And that's not even talking about the absolute thriller that just went down in Germany, Mo. I know you were glued to watch Romania and Slovakia match this afternoon.
Now, what did our elephant have to say about this one? Do we know? Did we check back with her, or was she doing Germany?
I think she's limited to German predictions, but that's going to be a great check-in toward the end because, okay. That was during Wild and Wacky last Wednesday. But things are rolling and heating up, and that was talking soccer.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, soccer is good. I see you have made an addition to the grab bag as well. Looking forward to getting to the grab bag. There's a lot going on, and even more with Wade tossing a grenade in there. No, it's not a grenade, but good stuff from the southern end of our coverage area. So looking forward to the grab bag later in the show. And again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday, where we will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Some of it, as we mentioned, animal related. So always a fun time.
Absolutely.
When we get into Wild and Wacky Wednesday.
Yeah, and you mentioned the NBA draft. This is talk about Wild and Wacky. This is going to be bonkers, and hopefully TERESA can set us straight because this is going to be interesting to say the least tonight. Maybe one of the least hyped drafts in a long, long time, and that's really, depending on who you talk to, on purpose. But there will be some moving and shaking, and it'll be interesting. And just because one night's not enough, we get to do it all again tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, that's a little bizarre. 2 rounds, 2 nights. Come on now. No Wemby in this draft though, so I mean, it's going to get wild and wacky from pick number 1. Sounds like.
Yeah, a lot of speculation over what the Hawks are going to do. If it'll be the Hawks, that's always the funny thing too, is they announce the trades, but they don't become official for a while. So it's kind of a weird deal. But this thing could go a number of different ways tonight, but it just has not been talked about. And that's kind of for good reason, as TERESA will fill us in later.
You don't know what the Hawks are going to do, but whatever it is, you don't have a whole lot of faith in it.
As a general rule of thumb, yeah. Hawks, Pistons as of late. The Grizzlies have certainly had their fair share of duds in the draft. So it shall be interesting to see kind of how things unfold tonight. I do expect quite a bit of trades, and there will be a couple interesting moves that come out of this thing tonight, I think, by the time it's all said and done.
You also wonder how all the recent, coaching changes will impact the draft. I mean, I don't know how much at this point, I'm not sure how much input coaches have in player personnel anyway. But I mean, with the late addition in LA and the late move in Detroit and different places like that, I would just wonder how much of an impact that will have on selections over the next couple of nights. So it's it bears watching. Some of I'll tell you what, Wade, some of these folks whose names will be called tonight and tomorrow night, I will be hearing for the first time.
Oh, no doubt. They're even in with the COVID years that have kind of extended the careers of some of our college guys. Yeah, there's some familiar names that will get called out, but there's definitely always some. When you talk about the international flavor, you're looking at maybe not top 3, 1, 2, 3, but at least 2 out of the first 3 are probably going to come from overseas. And I'm not Fran Fraschilla, so I don't really just have a great feel on the international game, but some of these dudes can play, and some of them probably won't be playing more than a couple of years.
Yeah, but they'll get paid. So
at the end of the day, everybody gets paid.
Secure the bag. I'm not mad at them. Hey, that's what we're looking at for the next couple of hours. Let's go ahead and get it started with yesterday's results, such as they were, today's schedule, such as it is, on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Tuesday results. Astros defeating the Rockies on our Major League Baseball scoreboard. That final was 5-2 yesterday. The Braves and Cardinals were set to play. However, that game was postponed. Mother Nature getting involved there. More on them and more on that series coming up in just a bit. In minor league baseball action last night, it was the Jumbo Shrimp defeating the Sounds. 2-0 was your final score there. And a little bit more on this to follow as well. The Minnesota Lynx did win the Commissioner's Cup last night on Amazon. It was a 94-89 victory versus the New York Liberty to cap yesterday's scoreboard.
Today's Major League Baseball in progress. The Braves are up 4-0 in the bottom of the second at St. Louis in game 1 of a doubleheader prompted by that postponement from last night. The Astros are up 1-0 on Colorado in the top of the 5th. Braves Cardinals will play game 2 at 6:15 tonight. You can see it. You can see both those games apparently on the MLB network. Braves Cardinals also on Valley Sports South, as is the current game. Sounds Jumbo Shrimp pitchers duel 10-10, top of the 9th down in Jacksonville. We will try to get you a final on that if they're not still playing at 4 o'clock. And that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check them out for their delicious daily deli lunch options available until 6 o'clock, as well as their hand-cut meats. And everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as Wade mentioned last night, the Minnesota Lynx defeated the host New York Liberty 94-89. I put host in quote marks because this game was not played at the Barclays Center where the Liberty typically plays their home games. It was instead played at UBS Arena in Elmont, New York, which is home of the New York Islanders. And apparently this was an issue for the Liberty. The Barclays is the site of the aforementioned NBA draft. And so it was being staged for tonight's festivities and tomorrow night's festivities. And Brianna Stewart, made sure to mention after the game, we worked really hard for home court advantage, and it would be nice if our home court was actually available before we choose the date that the event is going to be. Liberty was 5-0 in their Commissioner Cups games prior to traveling out to Long Island, playing in front of fewer fans, playing in an unfamiliar gym. Now, I think that kind of disrespects Minnesota a little bit, but hey, do you, Stewie? Nafisa Collier, 21.6 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals for the Lynx, who, as we refer, or as Wade referred to yesterday, the Lynx will take home $500,000 for that victory. Lynx led early. Liberty went up by double digits in the second quarter. Lynx came back and, again, secured the bag, 94-89, shooting 14 of 29 from behind the arc. That's going to win you a lot of ball games.
And yeah, had a feeling that the Lynx would be able to show up and play well, and it looks like they did. I didn't get a chance to watch any of this game last night, unfortunately. As much as I hyped it up yesterday, that plan went sideways in a hurry once we went off air. But
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. The Lynx, they're a worthy champ, and I'm reading more into the situation, and this is obviously pure speculation, but New York Times had an article, that the NBA, and obviously by virtue of that, the WNBA, they kind of knew this was a possibility, right? You kind of knew that your draft was set. You also kind of knew that the Liberty won last year's Commissioner Cup, and they were going to be one of your favorites to repeat and therefore host, but it didn't pan out. And something that I had never really thought of, Mo, but this is again a couple weeks ago on The Athletic, is why would you not have this game potentially? All right, if you can't have it at your perfect home court advantage decided venue, at that point, why not maybe have it at a neutral venue, perhaps like one of their expansion markets, Golden State and Toronto, the two newer franchises. And then this article goes an even step further. Or do you go or explore somewhere like Portland, Denver, or Nashville?
Someplace where there's not WNBA at all.
Right. Well, where they're in the mix. Right. And that's when Nashville kind of comes into the equation here in this article. So I'm kind of up. I get it. Obviously, you want to host it and you want to have it in your home gym. And this could have been sorted out probably a little bit better, obviously. But if it's not going to pan out that way, it would have been really cool. I mean, it would have been nice. I would have tried to scoop a ticket to see the Lynx and the Liberty last night at Bridgestone Arena.
I mean, I wonder where the Liberty would rather have played. Would they have rather played in a home court situation, or would they have rather played in a purely neutral situation, like you say there? And it's interesting. And I mean, Brianna seems quite grudgeful that they weren't playing on their home court. But I mean, schedule being what it was, that wasn't. It doesn't seem that was an option.
Yeah, maybe she's just maybe not a fan of Long Island in general, and maybe just say, you know what, I'm trying to steer clear of there as much as possible. I don't know how she ranks those boroughs, but maybe she just didn't really feel like heading on out. So I'm not totally sure there.
Or she just felt the need to kind of point out the short-sightedness of the WNBA, which is it's kind of the latest in a series of missteps or perceived missteps among WNBA players, I guess. So it just really struck me as an interesting reaction.
I think so too, and you're right, and that's probably the rationale for her comments. It's kind of point that in the right direction, but I mean, the interesting thing is, we're not talking about a one-off event. This is one of the NBA, and like I said, therefore perfectly dovetailed in with the WNBA. This is one of their signature events. So I see the need. It probably could have been avoidable, no doubt. And
you probably could have played it after the draft and avoided this. I don't know. I don't know, but Stewie ain't happy, like I said,
and got beat. Maybe it's a tiny bit of sour grapes too. Who knows? But the Lynx have been sneaky good all year.
They have. They improved.
They go on the road and win again, quote unquote road, as we've said. That's massive.
Improved to 13-3 with that win, second in the league behind the 15-3 Liberty. So that was the Liberty's third loss of the year. The Lynx become the fourth team in 4 years to win the Commissioner's Cup. Seattle won it in 21. The Aces 2 years ago, and of course the Liberty last year, as you mentioned. The Aces, by the way,
not great.
8-6, fifth place in the 12-team WNBA right now. A couple of games ahead of the Mercury. 2 games up in the loss column. They each have 8 victories. So, I mean, the Aces right now are behind the Liberty, the Lynx, the 13-3 Sun, the 10-6 Seattle Storm. And again, just ahead of Phoenix, who, started rough, but have seemed to kind of iron some things out. So we'll certainly bear keeping an eye on there.
Yeah, getting Chelsea Gray back from injuries is going to help them. It's not going to be an instant plug and play as good as she is. So that I think it's going to take them a little bit. And you mentioned the Storm. That's interesting too, because they got off to a horrific start. And they were one of those sleeper teams to maybe come in and win this thing this year. And they've caught fire. 7 out of their last 10 now after a really, really sluggish start. So it's shaping up to be a really fantastic season. Everybody seems to be playing well, except for a couple teams toiling at the bottom in both respective conferences.
The Mystics, the Sparks, and the Wings, none of whom have won more than 4 games to this point. Everybody else, including the 7-11 Fever, playing relatively well right now. So
they've turned it on. Yes, 6 out of their last 10, and if on paper at least started to play well, and just missed that loss as we discussed yesterday on Sunday to the Sky, blowing a big lead late.
Yeah. When we return to the Lee Company studio here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we'll be joined by the Queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA Walker, hopefully giving us a little insight into the Grizzlies' approach to tonight's first round of the NBA draft. And again, talking a little hockey as well. So stay tuned when we come back after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today. We are brought to you by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes, and it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. And so who better to have on than the queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, because we are anticipating that tonight's first round of the of the NBA draft may be a little wild and wacky, TERESA.
Well, considering that it feels like the WNBA draft was just yesterday, and think about this. The bottom half of the year and the expansion of the SEC starts Monday, and it's July 1st. It feels like in these first 6 months, we've lived a year already. At least it does for me. So, and yes, it could be the first time that the NBA has gone to splitting its lengthy 2-round draft into 2 nights. They're, stealing a page from the NFL. Okay.
Milk it for all it's worth, right?
Apparently, but what's weird is tomorrow's going to start. It's not in prime time, the second round. It starts at like 4:00 Central, as I understand it, tomorrow afternoon. So it's like, I don't quite get what they're doing. It gives NBA.com something more TV, but and then the fun thing will be this. My job tonight is I'm helping with our coverage from the home office and not going down to Memphis. Clay Bailey, who has been covering Memphis sports and helping the Associated Press cover Memphis sports since before I joined AP. And yes, the next time we have a ballot for the Tennessee Sports Writers Hall of Fame, he's going to have my vote again, because I know what he has done helping cover Memphis sports quietly for the entire country and the world. But he's going to be there in person, and they're 9th on the list, but the speculation is, do they try to trade up and get a big man? Because that's what they need. They don't have Steven Adams anymore. They got rid of him back before the trade deadline, and he had been hurt and hadn't played for them since late January of last year. They've got Brendan Clark coming back off of a torn Achilles. They got him back late in the season, so they know he's healthy, but he's at best a guy that can come off the bench and give you minutes when you want to kind of go with a small lineup. They need a big man to help Jaren Jackson Jr., to help John Morant, Marcus Smart. For everybody who forgot what this team has, this is the team that had the number 2 seed in the West in consecutive years, and then just couldn't get past the second round. And so they are now healthy. And there was a podcast yesterday. I'm not even sure who Marcus Smart was with yesterday, that I saw yesterday, and him talking about how, it's like you'd seen the highlights, you'd seen the video of Ja, but to see him jump in person, and he's like, throw it, I can get it. And he's like, I'm not sure. And it's like, he's got trampoline legs. And it's like, I'm going to use that at some point. I'm just going to steal it. Sorry, Marcus. But they need a big man to make that offense work. So I've seen all the mocks. I've seen our mocks, which has had, Tennessee's Dalton Connect as the easy plug and play, plays defense. That's thanks, 1 year at the Rick Barnes Defensive Finishing School. But they need a big man. And, the big move last night, people were like going, whoa, with what the Knicks did with the Nets. And, there was reports at one point that the Grizzlies were thinking 4 first rounders or something to go get Mikal Bridges. And the Knicks gave up 5. It's like everybody was like, whoa, the prices have gone insane. The thing, Grizzlies have a lot of draft stock piled. For a long time there, they were like, they had nothing to play with. And they are finally clear. The Jeff Green first rounder that was sent to somebody else was kind of the last thing that cleared their decks, so to speak. Zach Kleeman has got ammunition to work with. And I will not be surprised if he goes up to 6 with Charlotte. Does he go up to 5? I think that's Boston at that spot. So stay tuned. I mean, that's the thing. They need something. They know that their window is now. And my good buddy Jess Benson, who works for Grind City Media, she was talking this morning about how friendship teams, not superstars all on one roster, that seems to be where we're going in the NBA. Well, guess what? Memphis Grizzlies have got that. I mean, have you seen how those guys, when healthy, love on each other? They've got the chemistry. They need a piece. And they could be the team that, has been trying for so long since the move to Memphis to celebrate on Beale Street. You can look at this team. It's time to win now.
Sorry, I was muted there, Teresa. I was wondering, do the Grizzlies, if they do make a move, is there any scenario where they don't try and trade up to get, if they pick anybody other than Klingon at that point? Because it seems like in a draft where so many teams are kind of, we're not sure what they need or we're not sure what they want, it seems like the Grizzlies have been pretty well intentioned. Hey, we need a big guy. We need one now.
Yeah, it's almost like the bat signal is being shown into the air from FedEx Forum, right? I mean, for everybody that's picking them at 9 and going with a shooting guy, and a guy who can hit threes, yes, I understand, but and they do, and the problem is they've got so many guys on that roster. It's got to be somebody that they need, and a big man is it. Now, I know that Donovan Klingon talked about how he's worked out for the Hawks. But I mean, right now it feels, take it for what it's worth, but it feels like it's going to be a Frenchman for a second year going atop the NBA draft. I know is Alex Sarr, Rissar Shea, one of those two guys. And yeah, watch out. I'm 3 weeks from today. I leave for France for the Olympics, and I'm helping cover basketball. Humble brag. And I'll be giving a little bit of help to the guys on the men's side, mostly helping on the women. But France is coming. They're coming on the women's side, but they are certainly coming on the men's side. Tony Parker, it's almost like he led the way to the NBA for French players, and Victor Wembanyama, and now it's one of those two guys seem to be one and maybe two going off the board tonight. So that's what's going to be so interesting about this draft is, is it Klingon? Does he actually, break the French hold at the top of the draft? And does he go to the Atlanta Hawks, who guys had a 3% chance of getting the number 1 pick, and they got it. So they're not going to be buying a lottery ticket anytime soon. They won that in the draft lottery already.
And it was fascinating that the Hawks win the draft with such little odds in the year where it seems like there's so much uncertainty, right? This feels like maybe the least exciting or the least surefire draft since maybe all the way back in 2013 when Anthony Bennett kind of went when that crazy shock at number 1, to me at least, Teresa.
Well, exactly. A year ago, everybody knew that it was going to be Wembanyama at number 1, right? And the year that Zion Williamson came out, everybody knew he was going number 1, which is why when the Grizzlies, and guys, their only true draft luck came in 2019 when they somehow managed to move up to 2. And having covered and written about Ja Morant and gone to Tennessee Tech and watched him in person, it's like, oh, I got to flash what that young man could be at the NBA. By the way, he had a camp over the weekend in Memphis, told the local reporters there that, he should be good to go in 2 weeks from his rehab from shoulder surgery. And, and the best thing is, haven't seen him on IG Live. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord. But, the fact of the matter is, I think he's thirsty and he's hungry and he's tweeting about the draft. So, I mean, everybody in Memphis is watching to see who they add because they can't wait. And it's going to be interesting because we don't know who's going to be at number one. And I still think that before it's said and done, if Ja does what hopefully Ja does, I still think that that draft 2019 could end up along the Sam Bowie lines, because I'm sorry, Zion's going to have to prove to me that he can stay healthy and slim down and available for more than one season.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. As we mentioned, Atlanta with the number 1 pick as of right now. Washington number 2. Houston just got Brooklyn's number 3 pick in a trade last night. San Antonio picking 4th and 8th. Detroit 5. Charlotte 6. Portland 7. Again, San Antonio at 8. The Grizzlies at 9, and Utah rounding out the top 10. And again, there is no clear-cut number 1. I don't even know if there's a clear-cut number 2 behind that. So it, as Wade was saying, it just feels like Atlanta's luck that they would get the number 1 pick in this draft.
Is that some of your Braves fandom coming out there?
No, it's kind of my Hawks fandom, actually. I mean, I always have kind of rooted for the Hawks, to the degree that I root for an NBA team, I guess. I mean, I'd like to see them do well, but they can't seem to get out of their own way.
Well, I know, for those of us who remember Dominique Wilkins in a Hawks jersey, I get that. And yeah, go Google it, kids. But exactly. I mean, the Grizzlies, the last time they had a pick so high as number 2, they botched it. They took the UConn kid,
Hashim Thabit.
Thank you. And they took him because of his size. And no offense, he lasted way longer in the league than I thought. Shoot, he may still be playing for somebody.
He probably lasted way longer in the league than he should have.
Exactly. But the knock on him is that he knew the best mall in every NBA city. So, I mean, when I went down and covered a game in Memphis and he was on the opposing roster, I'm like, really? And the thing that makes it egregious, that draft, that was the Steph Curry draft. That was, I mean, Tyreek Evans, was in that draft. I mean, oh goodness, I'm blanking. Houston Rockets. So he drives everyone crazy. James Harden was in that draft. I mean, the players that went in that draft that the Memphis Grizzlies coulda, shoulda had. And
Ricky Rubio.
See, I mean, it was a talent-filled draft. And that's the thing. It was one of those where, you're not really sure. And hindsight is 2020. Steph Curry looks like a no-brainer. It should have been number 1. This draft is a little similar to that in that there's talent, and the talent is coming from around the world, which makes it so tough. You see all these young players, and NIL has made it tougher, right? I'm going to go test my skills at the NBA, camp and see where they. Where did Tennessee Vols benefit? Josiah Jordan-James and I'm blanking on the other young man. The Uruguay kid. And yes, sorry, my gears are grinding. I need vacation starting soon, and not soon enough. But they went to the camp, got tips on how to improve their game, went back to college. Right. There's a lot of young men who stayed in this draft who probably should have went back into college, because this is the world's game now. And the NBA is scouting globally. And, one of those 2 Frenchmen, guess what? One of them played in Australia. Okay. So if you think that you're, all your buddies are telling you, go, leave, you'll be a top 10, you'll be a lottery pick. Get some opinions on that from people who actually know basketball. That's just my advice, okay? Because you can make money now staying in college. That's the beauty of whatever is being worked out on the NIL college landscape as it shifts under our feet.
Literally, yeah. I mean, you may not make as much money, but you can make some money, which would be better than no money. Or going overseas and having to make that money, which is where a lot of these guys that are in tonight's draft are going to wind up because they're not going to get drafted. So it's a roll of the dice all the way around. And again, I feel like we're going to hear a lot of names that we are unfamiliar with because, as you said, the game has become so global, Teresa. So with that said, where does Bronny James land? Does he land anywhere other than LA?
That is such a great question. I mean, I wouldn't draft him. I mean, I'm sorry. No offense, but it's like, from what I've read of the people who've looked at him, and then you have the the heart issue last year. It's like, and I'm sorry that I've not seen too many guys come back from that and have, pro careers. It just in any sport. And, the only reason that his name is even on any draft board for odds is because of who his father is, right, and the chance to get LeBron. So maybe I'm going to steal JJ Redick's answer. I mean, I'm not so sure that he ends up drafted. And if he is, the LA trying to get LeBron back and team him up and salvage that team. But it's like, at some point, when are the Lakers going to figure out you have to build a team? They had brought in stars, a lot of stars. They've done a lot of things since they got LeBron in. One title, and that was in the bubble.
The Lakers seem lost.
Totally. I mean, it's almost sad considering their history and great tradition. You see the Celtics, they celebrate, and they, they went through, for them, an incredible title drought. But the last few years, they were competitive. They were there. They were on the verge. The Lakers last year had to win the play-in tournament and beat a banged-up Grizzlies team without Ja to advance. And that's what got them into the second round. So it's like, it's like, and Ja, the wrist, he hurt it in game one. That's the thing that kept Memphis from advancing a year ago. That's, hello. Is anyone surprised by what the Lakers did the last couple of years? I mean, it's almost like they're searching for the mirage of what they could maybe possibly be, hoping that they can build it around LeBron. And LeBron, sorry, this Olympic team, it is filled with stars, not many young stars. Steph's going for the first time. LeBron's going. He wasn't there in Japan a couple years ago. It was the Durant show. Kevin Durant playing Captain America, leading the U.S. to gold. There are a lot of old guys there. So I think that the Grizzlies, with as young a roster as they've got, that's going to give them an advantage because none of their guys are going to Paris. They get to work on their game, heal up, and be ready for when the season starts. These other guys, they're going to need a breather. Because no offense, the older you get, you don't bounce back like you used to.
Good point. And Teresa, I'm curious. We've mentioned the Lakers with Bronny James, of course, but if you're an NBA exec, and I'm curious your opinion on this, a second-round pick, do you just take a flyer if you're a team and say, hey, LeBron has expressed publicly that, he would love to play with his son. Do you beat the Lakers to the punch? And, if you burn a second-round pick, picks are dime a dozen. Do you take a chance, if nothing else, for the marketing appeal? Maybe your team doesn't even end up that great, but for the marketing appeal of maybe getting those two paired together one day.
Well, paired together one day, the clock is ticking on LeBron's career. Okay, let's be honest about it. As amazing as his season was this year, Father Time is getting ready to tap him on the shoulder because Olympics, playoffs, the mileage on his body is going to take a toll. Tom Brady, I mean, yes, he may be the Tom Brady of the NBA and able to continue playing into his 40s at that level, but it just feels like Father Time's going to tap him on the shoulder. So it's going to have to be a team that's got a second-round pick that they can throw away, and they better have cap space and to sign LeBron. And then thirdly, they need to be able to say, we do have these pieces and can be competitive for X, Y, Z if you're going to get LeBron to come play with his son. I do think it has to be a team that it that at least can say we're in a division, we're in a conference, we can compete. And maybe it's in the East again. We'll see. And I say that because the West seems absolutely stacked and has been for, well, shoot, as long as I can remember. And the fact that, yes, I know Boston won the title, and did so in an amazing fashion with an almost impeccable road record. But, hey, they've been knocking on the door. They kicked it in. Let's see if they can do it again.
Teresa, before we let you go, as we mentioned at the onset of the show, there was some hockey news that came out after we went off the air yesterday. David Poile and Shea Weber among 7 set to be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in November. Weber, a former Predator, obviously, leading goal scorer amongst defensemen during his career. And Poile speaks for himself, both in the NHL and at the international level. I mean, just kind of flesh out those 2 inductions.
David Poile, I'm sorry. I thought he should have been inducted last year. I guess they wanted to make sure he was completely off the job. And, officially his last day on the job was June 30th here in Nashville during the NHL draft. So I guess they wanted to wait. Winningest GM in NHL history, more games than any other GM in NHL history. His work with Team USA, he's the guy who put together, he was an assistant GM for the team that took silver in that overtime loss in Vancouver. I was there. I was watching that game from the press center. And I mean, I still remember Ryan Suter in the corner, dejected, devastated by that overtime goal by Sidney Crosby. 2014, David was the GM of that team that went to Sochi. And the only reason that David wasn't there is because, an errant puck hit him and, hit him in the eye and kept him from being able to travel to Russia for that game. I mean, standard bar none that the NHL would hope for. Plus, added bonus, he built a franchise from the ground up to a Stanley Cup finalist and Western Conference champ in 2017. Also, just the nicest guy in the world. Shea Weber, I had questions. People asked me yesterday, how did he get in? Because Predator fans have this, it's almost been like this ghost waiting. It's like, are we going to get on the hook for what's left of Shea's contract? And the reason he is in, it has been 3 years since Shea last played a game. It's kind of the Chris Pronger precedent that was set back almost a decade ago. So that's the thing. Because of his injury, the long-term situation that he's in, and I know, technically it felt like he was still on the now Utah Hockey Club roster, but, and there are some people who had an issue with him being a first ballot essential guy. But if you watched him play, again, Pekka Rinne's got the statue out there, but, if not for the trade for PK Subban, if Shea had finished his career in Nashville, he would be the guy with a statue out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put one out there for him anyway someday.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Teresa, we appreciate you as always, and look forward to catching up with you. Well, I don't know if we'll catch you before you head to Paris. When do you leave exactly? 3
weeks from today. So, and I will say I've tweeted out and I've shared it on my personal Facebook page. We're going to have an AP Olympic newsletter. You can sign up for an AP Sports newsletter so that you get all our best news delivered straight to your email. But trust me, you want this Olympic newsletter. My colleagues are the best in the world at covering sports, especially covering the Olympics. And sign up, baby. You're going to love it. Right to your email box.
Where do you go to sign up, Teresa?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Well, you can't tell people to sign up and not tell them how.
I know. Give me 1 second. I shared it just a little while ago. but then I am a massive tweeter. So let me scroll back real quick. And I was at the NASCAR event earlier today too. So there you go. That doesn't help. I should have been ready. I am sorry. Okay, here we go. It's an AP newsletter. Go to apnews.com, click newsletters. You can sign up for everything you might want. Postcards from Paris, news, the afternoon news. Think of it as for us old folks, the PM's edition. If you want religion news, but SportsWire, you can get the AP Top 25 poll delivered straight to your box and not have to go searching for it, so that you can see where Tennessee is when the AP Top 25 poll comes out in August. I'm teasing that just a little bit. So I'll tweet that out again. So go to Teresa M. Walker. I'll retweet it so that you can go to the link and sign up for all the news that you can use.
At Teresa M. Walker on Twitter or on X.
Whatever
Again,
it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah, you know where it is. We appreciate you. Again, we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. And I'll be tweeting about the draft tonight because I'm covering it.
Should be fun.
Thank you, Teresa.
I hope.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, when we come back here to the Lee Company studios on Main Street Sports today, it is a little baseball action. Stay tuned.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
June 26, 1956, Philadelphia scored twice in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Robin Roberts struck out 7 as the Phillies down visiting Milwaukee 4-2. It was the Braves' first loss in 12 games under Fred Haney, who, with the club in 5th place in the National League, was elevated from a coaching position to replace Charlie Grimm as manager. The Braves were in pennant contention under Haney until the last weekend of the season before winning the World Series the following year in 1957. That was this day in Braves history. As we mentioned during the rundown, the Braves in St. Louis were rained out last night, forcing a doubleheader today. Game 1, the Braves are up 4-1 in the top of the 5th. Also, the Rockies are up right now 2-0. I'm sorry, the Astros are up 2-0 on the Rockies in the bottom of the 7th out at Minute Maid Field. So, Wade, both of our teams are right now playing pretty well.
Yeah, getting some positive news rolling toward the top of the 3 o'clock hour here, as a couple day games. Mother Nature intervening yesterday, it sounded like, in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Your Astros picked up a 5-2 victory to open that short series with Colorado. Their 6th straight victory, so they're going for 7 today. Arrighetti got the start for Houston in this one. I don't know if he's still out there or not.
He was pitching well early. No, he's finally. We talked a little bit about it yesterday about, sometimes these prospects, as talented as they are, unless you're Paul Skeens, usually you got to have a little bit of a learning curve. And Arrighetti, as talented as and high hopes as they had for him, he kind of struggled in his first couple of outings, but kind of baptism by fire, somewhat paying off. Yeah, he's already got 10 strikeouts on the day today. I know.
I was just going to say he did not struggle today. 10 strikeouts through 7 full, just 3 hits, 89 pitches, 70 strikes.
It is versus the Rockies, but yeah, 10 Ks is 10 Ks, and so
yeah, but the strike zone doesn't move. I mean, 70 strikes and 89 pitches. I think they call that pounding the zone. As we mentioned, Braves up 4-1. Orlando Arcia left Monday's game with some dizziness, was not in the starting lineup last night, but that game didn't get played. Zach Short is in at shortstop today for Arcia and already has a 2-run single for the Braves in that one. Arcia's tests for dizziness, everything came out positive. They think maybe it was just a little dehydration, but they're just kind of being cautious with him. The Mets were not cautious with Garrett Cole in his second start, touching him up for 4 home runs in 4 innings. Just the second start of Cole's career in which he did not have a strikeout, as the Mets downed the Yankees 9-7 to open the Subway Series last night. I'm sure nobody's feeling a whole lot of sympathy for the Yankees.
No, cry me a river, Terry McCormick, right? As the Subway Series, especially with the rain out for Atlanta, a lot of folks were subjected to that or tuned into that. I know my sister was dialed in yesterday, as that they jumped on them early, and they could have been worse. I know that there was a couple plays early in the game where the Mets, I think Alonso got thrown out at home. They were threatening to really, really put a pounding on them, even early in the game. And then it looked like the Yankees kind of made a little bit of a comeback with five runs. I think they scored in the 8th inning to kind of claw back in it.
Milwaukee making some moves, as their pitching staff has kind of, as we have talked so often on this show, been beaten up. Robert Gasser, the former Nashville Sound, out for the year with elbow issues, trying to avoid Tommy John surgery, I think. But they traded for veteran Dallas Keuchel, who had been at AAA with Seattle. He came up, made a start today, had a 1-2-3 first inning, but wound up making it through 4 innings, giving up 8 hits, 5 earned runs. The Brewers and the Rangers are tied 5-5 in the 7th right now. So, everybody's trying to reinforce their pitching. Again, Milwaukee's got like 5 projected starters on the IL. So we've talked about it again. ad nauseum, pitching just is taking a hit across Major League Baseball.
It's been, it just feels like injuries for whatever reason. Homers have been down, although they kind of are slowly starting to come back, it seems like, here midway through this month. But homers have been down and injuries have been up, has been kind of the theme that I've kind of been noticing from afar, I guess, if you will. And then the other crazy thing, and you probably either we've been talking about it, but even it crept up on me, Mo, the Guardians outside of the Phillies have had the best record in baseball, toss in the Yankees with 1-2. With the 26th highest payroll in all of MLB, the Guardians are just rolling right now.
That's refreshing to see when you talk about the 26th in payroll. I mean, it just means that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and just because you're throwing a lot of money at the situation doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. So kudos to Cleveland. Won't hear me say that often, but good for them.
Their over-under on wins for the season was 79.5. They've already got 51 wins.
I think,
and we're not even out of the month of June. Yeah, they feel like they're doing well. And we kind of laughed at that division in our preseason special months ago, and they got 3 teams above 500. Tigers are just below 500. And outside of the White Sox, I mean, that whole division's been pretty competitive this year.
Now, I wonder if so many of those wins are because everybody's beating up on the White Sox.
Now, that is something to be privy to, I suppose.
Yeah. You're probably not familiar with this name unless you are a real seam head, but Hogan Windish, an infielder with the Arkansas Travelers, the AA affiliate of the Seattle Mariners, had a game last night. 4 for 4 with a walk and 4 home runs.
Whew.
Drove in all 9 runs in the Arkansas Travelers 9-4 victory over the Springfield Cardinals. Windish hit a grand slam in the 3rd, a 2-run shot in the 5th, and a 2-run shot in the 7th. Then a solo shot in the 9th. So he needed one more guy on base for one of those 2 runs for the home run cycle. But 4 for 4, 4 jacks, 9 ribs as Arkansas defeated Springfield 9-4. Drove in all 9 runs. That's
Holy
impressive.
Moly.
That's impressive. So 4 home runs in a game is the MLB record. It's been accomplished 16 times. 5 minor leaguers have homered 5 times in a game. So this guy had 3 home runs with 19 RBIs coming into last night.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know that this makes him a power hitter. Maybe he was just hitting for power last night. But anyway.
Just you know what? Just move out of my way. I'm letting them rip tonight.
Yeah, unbuttoning my shoes. Yep. Hogan Windish. Remember the name. That's going to do it for hour number 1 here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday, we'll be visiting with Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. Stay tuned after the break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We're going to bring up Chris Lee from Southeastern 14 in just a second, but before we do, the last time we talked to Chris, we were discussing the status of University of Texas baseball coach David Pierce. Well, that got clarified on Monday when Texas terminated Pierce. And it became a little bit more clear yesterday when Texas hired former Texas A&M coach Jim Schlossnagle. Now, Schlossnagle was asked in the aftermath of A&M's loss to Tennessee in Monday's championship game what his status was or what his reaction was to being connected to Texas, and he pretty well scolded a guy for asking him about it. Less than 24 hours later, he's in Austin. So he was asked at his introductory press conference at Texas about that whole situation. We got a clip.
You got Coach Schlossnagle, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com.
Welcome.
Thank you. Coach, on Monday night, you said that you went to Texas A&M with the idea of it being a last job. And then you said that your mind hadn't changed beyond that. So, number one, what changed? And then number two, what would you say to those Texas A&M people that supported you that feels like that you intentionally misled them?
Well, I didn't intentionally mislead them. And that's a very fair question for you to ask because that is what I said. In that moment, that's exactly how I felt. At 50 years old, you got to understand, and Chris would probably back me up on this, I love TCU. My children grew up there, Fort Worth. I was there 18 years, and it had to be a very unique situation for me to leave that at 50 years old. I love Coach Garrido, but I hope I get to coach here for a long time, but I don't really have any plans on coaching to 75, 78 years old. So I made that choice because it aligned both personally and professionally with what I had going on at the time. And I loved it. and I dove in with every single ounce of me to help A&M have the very best baseball program it can possibly have. And that investment lasted through the last pitch of the national championship game. It never wavered, not 1 second. I don't care what anybody says. As Chris likes to say, we have jobs and try to run a business on other people's passion. And if I had left Texas A&M for some other school in a different part of the country, the interesting text messages and messages that I got yesterday probably wouldn't have happened. But I get it. You can't ask for your fan base to support you and be passionate like the 12th man always has been, but really was this year. Our crowds were awesome. Awesome. Every single game. And so you can't ask for that like I did and our staff did, and then expect everybody to be okay with a coach leaving for its rival school. And I get it. And I get it. All I can say is I have a career too. I have a personal life as well. That I have goals, and I just simply felt like no negative at A&M, just the positives of the alignment and frankly my relationship with Chris. That I knew there wasn't anybody at Texas A&M that I couldn't trust. I just know that I can trust Chris. I just know that. And as hard as that decision was, I could not walk away from it.
I have a career too. I have a personal life. I have goals. Nothing wrong with that. And let's bring Chris in. Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 joining us. You know, all three of us have been print journalists or print journalists. We have sat in press conferences. We have asked tough questions. And for that guy on Monday night, that Texas A&M writer, to get treated the way Jim Schlossnagle did for asking him about that situation, and then for him to turn around and leave and go to Austin and just blow it off as simple as, I have a career too. It pissed me off so bad. I mean, I have no problem with that guy taking a job. He's got a career. He's got a personal life. He's got goals. Perfectly fine. Nothing would have been wrong with him saying, we're not going to talk about that tonight. I understand you haven't asked it, but we're not going to talk about it. He could have done anything but take that defiant tone toward that guy, knowing he was in Austin.
Just say, look, it's a no-win situation. I think you can recognize that, right? I mean, you're not going to say, hey, look, I've taken the job at Texas. See you later. That's not appropriate.
Right.
You don't want to lie. Just say,
he didn't mind.
Say, hey, I'm the coach. Well, that's true. I'm the coach at Texas A&M. We just played a tough baseball game. We just lost a national title game. We had our hearts rip out. I'm here to talk about Texas A&M. At least that way you're not lying. Everybody, are people still going to be ticked off at you later? You bet they are. And that's going to go along lines of whatever colors you wear. But at least nobody can have that on you.
Yeah, because he lied. And not only did he lie, but he tried to make that guy look bad for asking.
Right.
And I think that's what I take the bigger issue with.
Well, look, we've all been in one of those spots where you've got a question you feel like you need to ask, but at the same time, you just lost a national title game. You got kids that I get that it's delicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to know what to do, how to time. I mean, we've all been in that spot where like, boy, this is awkward no matter what. But don't do that.
I mean, again, I got no issue with Jim Schlossnagle taking the job at the University of Texas. He had a previous history with the athletics director. He, had plenty of reasons for taking the job. Got no problem with it. Congratulations. The way he left there Monday night was, as a journalist, bothersome to me. And I know that a lot of people will say, "But you're just being whiny, blah blah blah." No, because he tried to make that guy look bad for asking a
Yeah.
question that the answer he gave was a lie.
No, I don't
And again,
disagree with any
that's
of
the
that.
issue I take with it.
Yeah, it's hard
Yeah.
enough to do that job as it is, and I think you need ethical people in the media for any number of reasons you and I can name, and to see a guy get dressed down like that, it sucked.
It's tough. It is. That said, what do you think of the hire?
I think it's a good hire. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, first
David
off,
Pierce
before we
yeah.
go there, let me ask you, what did you think of the firing?
Hard to know. I mean, there was some other stuff cited, but look, Mo, you and I have been in the business. You and I have known people that have gotten away with a lot of stuff when they were winning until they weren't. And then those things became a problem. But yeah, I mean, we know how that, and I get it. It's human nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd been to Omaha, 3 times in 8 years. That's not bad. No, it's not what Texas is used to, but it's been a while since Texas got what Texas was used to. Of course, we would have said that about football.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Sarkisian came in and flipped that quickly, which probably added to some of the backdrop for this. But I don't know. Jim Schlossnagle's always won wherever he's been. I think there's some ethical questions that have come to light. I don't know if you got a chance to see the Twitter today. One of his former players tweeted out something that was very interesting. And of course, Kendall Rogers had the thing that, they'd agreed to this after the Georgia series. Well, there were 2 more regular season series after that, then an SEC tournament, then a regional, then a super regional, then a College World Series, and then a College World Series final. So that's a lot of, and look, that's hard. I have some issues too. I think college baseball set up in terms of timelines and a lot of stuff where it's very, very harder than ever to do your job in an ethical way in a lot of ways right now. And I think with the portal windows on top of that, I mean, look, there's never a good way to do that, right? There's never a good way because you've got to get a jump on things. And I don't blame Texas for making a change or even hiring Jim Schlossnagle, but the timing of a lot of stuff, and especially now that we know that he already knew he was taking the job, number one, and number two, the fact that Texas made the announcement of a vacancy it knew it was going to have for a long time, the morning its arch rival is playing the deciding game of the college baseball series, I have a big problem with that.
That's the opposite of a Friday news dump right there. That was
that is the definite opposite of a Friday news dump. That feels like a little sabotage would be a strong word, but certainly underhanded would not.
And no, not at all. And Chris, when you talk about the timeline and when, who knew what and that kind of thing, have you seen Cliff Godwin's rant? Apparently, the East Carolina.
I don't think I've seen that one. What I saw? No, wait. I saw a bit and piece of it about they had 2 guys that already knew they were playing. Look, you had kids playing college baseball this year. That what I was told, they knew where they were playing in 2024 while they were in the dugout for another. I'm sorry, how players that played at another school in what would it have been 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Playing for the same school in I screwed up the timeline. I'll put it this way. Players that played a season for a school knowing they were already agreed to play another season at another school. How's that?
And
some of whom we have seen play.
And that speaks to the ethics of the whole situation, across the board. But I just feel like coaches that try to come across as holier than thou need to make sure that other coaches are holding up their end of those bargains. And and as we see here in this Texas A&M situation, that's not necessarily the case. What do you think A&M does here?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough because you just got ambushed. You know, the portal closes. I think you get a little bit of a window when you lose a coach, but how many kids have already made decisions? Jim Schlossnagle is already, weeks ahead of planning his next steps. All the good A&M players just about hit the portal today. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah. I mean, look, and I'm not. Don't think if you missed the last couple hours, you missed a lot. And I'm not done. I won't get into some other things, but it has been a heck of a day for Texas A&M baseball. And Monday and Tuesday were just the start of it. And I don't mean in a good way. I mean, it's just right now. I think we have a system in place that incentivizes all the bad actors. And I get that you're playing in a game that's almost got no rules. And I think what it's doing is it's pulling some of the good actors down that path too, just to have to survive. But I think you've got some timelines and some things that are really messed up right now that are not helping.
Yeah, Chris, that's what blew me away was the fact, and my mind is just immediately thinking, how wild would this story, as already crazy as it is, would have been if Texas A&M completes a crazy comeback and wins the national championship for a rivalry that has certainly been not short of drama over the years. This would have just been another chapter. But you're right. When you walk back that timeline, it's crazy to think about. And I'm just trying to just mentally even think about the fact that it's almost in a weird way a testament to Texas A&M and the fact that they were able to get this far because you don't know who knew what. And if you're keeping that big of a secret from your team, like there's a lot to unpack there when we talk about, you mentioned deep into the season, this was already known before we even get into the postseason.
Well, and that aside, the guy did a good job because he lost maybe his best player during the tournament. He lost one of his top 4 pitchers during the tournament. That might have hurt even more than losing Braden Montgomery. And even with all that, they still got here and lost by a run.
Crazy to think about. And then also the other thing, kind of reading, and you've kind of set it up nicely and framed it this way, with the relationship with the administration there at Texas, with Del Conte and Coach Schloss having that relationship. Man, this just feels like some good old school drama is what it feels like to me. Yeah. Like an old school Michigan, Ohio State, Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler type situation where maybe that's not insert, they could have got Tony V for a $5 contract. It just feels like Texas was dead set on pulling this off the way that they did to kind of undermine Texas A&M more so than maybe for their own benefit. It feels like to me.
Well, look, I think if you just make the announcement the next day, Texas comes out looking a lot different. To make it the morning of, and I've always heard that the conference office has kind of frowned on, my members, they've always frowned on, stealing somebody else's thunder in a moment like that. They did it to 2 SEC schools and I guess directly affected one of them that was about to be a victim of it. I've never seen anything like this. And it's going to be good for our business. Like the ratings for Texas A&M, look, if you're not business, if you're covering either one of those two teams, it will not be hard to find storylines going into that one next year. Both teams could be 0-30.
You got to make sure they're playing though, right?
Right. But I don't think that's, for our business, it's good. I just don't think it's good for the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does this rank in your mind, Chris? You got Nick Saban, I'm not taking the Alabama job. You got Tommy Tuberville with his Pine Box. Schlossnagle in this situation. This just feels like one of those all-time kind of just behind the scenes wheeling and dealing situations also.
Yeah, look, maybe somewhere something happened worse, but there were layers to this that just weren't there with the other ones. Nick Saban didn't leave, LSU to coach.
Bobby Petrino, I guess also we could throw in that mix.
Yeah,
too.
They didn't do that on the eve they were playing for a title and then go leave for their most hated rival the next day and then lie about it in the meantime. There's levels to that I have not seen before.
it's the lie that just sets me off above everything else. But certainly the rivalry plays a role in that. Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And what's funny is in the hours between Texas announcing David Pierce had been terminated and whatever else was going to happen, Tennessee starts catching strays because obviously Tony Vitello's name gets thrown into the mix. He's going to Texas. Christopher Gabriel came on with us yesterday and said there was no way. And sure enough, he was right. But I don't know that anybody ever thought that Tony Vitello was going to Texas or anywhere else, really, that was familiar with his situation at Tennessee.
Yeah, there was some talk about Texas when this first came open, and some thought that there might be a fit there. Now, again, they got their guy; they'd been wrapped up for a while, but it wasn't totally out of left field. Now, look, I think he's that situation is also a better situation than it was 6 weeks ago or whatever. Because I think everybody's known that David Pierce was getting canned for a while. That's the claim by people,
including David Pierce, huh?
Yeah, right. But look, Tennessee's a better job the day after you win the national title than it was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's certainly fair to say. What else are you kind of looking at here as we shut down the 2024 baseball season?
A lot. I mean, who takes the A&M job, I think is, do they target Dan O'Donnell at Louisville? There's a lot. I don't know where though. Eric Bakich at Clemson could be one. I'm spitballing here. I think that, I think ethics reform has got to be something. My understanding is that some of that was supposed to come up at the meetings, the SEC meetings in Destin. That was right before the bombshell got dropped about, you owe, $2.5 billion, you being the NCAA to everybody. I think money then sort of took over is the topic du jour for understandable reasons. But I think there's a lot of the game outwardly is as healthy as it's ever been. The popularity's soaring. The TV ratings are good. On the outside, there is a lot of stuff that's right with college baseball. The talent's as good as it's ever been. But I think at the same time, there's been a lot of ethical concerns, everything from on-field stuff to, to these kind of things off the field that have been bubbling under the surface for a couple years now that need to be addressed. I do think that we are, I don't know, there's part of me that wonders if you look back a few years from now that we'll view some things kind of like we view the McGuire-Sosa home run chase. And it doesn't mean it wasn't good baseball because it was, and it doesn't mean those weren't good players, but there's been a lot. And JJ Cooper wrote 2 really good pieces at Baseball America last week. And he just verbalized a lot of the things that had been said privately for 3 or 4 years now.
Had to check that out. JJ is a friend of the show. Good dude. As is Chris Lee. Chris, we appreciate you taking some time with us, man, and giving us some reaction to this Texas A&M situation, because I needed somebody to kind of validate my thoughts on it. So thanks. I appreciate you helping with that. And
no, and look, if you missed and you got a show to prepare for, stuff to do, but I think there's probably a lot of the story that started to drop between show prep and now interview. It's worth the follow up on your end. I'm not going to get into all of it because there's a lot that's being thrown around, but it was an interesting day on social media for sure.
I will check it out, and you can probably expect a text. So we will talk, man. I appreciate it. And probably the next time we talk, Southeastern 14 will be Southeastern 16. So
I'm pretty sure about that. Yes.
Congratulations on the pending arrival, and we will look forward to the changes on Twitter and in other places. So,
hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us, Chris. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Chris.
When we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will have the grab bag in our next segment, and in our final segment, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. In our final segment, we will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. But right now, it's the grab bag, and we're going to start close to home. Pulaski correspondent Wade Neely, what's happening on campus?
Well, depends on which lens you're looking through, Mo, because a couple of weeks ago, UT Southern men's basketball coach Dugan Lyon announced he would be stepping down. Friend of the show, Dugan Lyon, and it was kind of vague as to where he would end up, but that piece of the puzzle has been announced as Coach Lyon is going to be returning home or coming home, if you will. He's not from Clarksville, but he spent a lot of time at Austin Peay and in Clarksville, and he's going to be back as Austin Peay officially announced not just him, but 3 new additions to their coaching staff yesterday. So Dugan is going to be joining the staff up there in Clarks Vegas, and UTS is still looking, it looks like, for their next men's basketball coach, but at least one piece of that puzzle has now been kind of put into place.
Okay. So he's going to go up and help Corey Gibson, huh?
Yep. Looks like, but reunited. They were together when Dugan was there at Austin Peay, and he spent a long time there as their manager, and then was promoted to their grad assistant and eventually their basketball operations. So seemed like a good fit. And there was a lot of smoke and probably some fire that went into this, it seems like, but wasn't official. And you know how that goes, Mo. It's never official till it's official. And Austin Peay did make that announcement yesterday. So kind of a cool deal for Dugan. Obviously UTS will miss him, of course, but that is a good step up in the right direction. And we've discussed, seems like Austin Peay's on the come up with men's basketball.
No doubt. Also added Director of Player Development Matthew Morgan, Assistant Dwayne Jackson, and promoted Travis Allen to DBO, Director of Basketball Operations. So, yeah, you feel like that program is moving in a positive direction, and looking forward to seeing what they continue to do under Coach Gibson up there. So
I asked Dugan if he would be wearing the camouflage, the military pants that Coach Gibson got kind of viral for, standing up on the table and cheering. They had a great postseason run and really got close to making the tournament. But he said, no, that's probably designated for the head coach only. So we won't be seeing Dugan and fatigues, I don't think, anytime soon.
Well, there's probably pluses and minuses to that.
I think, I think everybody kind of agrees that's probably for the best, just being honest. So
yeah. Okay. What else is going on campus?
Other news, there's a new women's basketball coach. We've talked about this on the show over the last couple of weeks, really the last couple of months. But Ross James is kind of an interesting hire, Mo, for UTS. But he's going to be the new women's basketball head coach, taking over for Billy Evans, who retired at the end of or beginning of March, right after their regular season ended. And James comes in. He's been got to start the D3 ranks. He was at Mary Baldwin University, which I, full disclosure, had to look up on a map. I think most of our listeners would probably have to do the same, but that's in Virginia. He was there for a couple of years. And Mo, I'll give you $5. I'll buy your lunch at the Piggly Wiggly over at Neely's Meal if you can tell me the mascot for Mary Baldwin. No Googles.
I guess I'm buying my own lunch.
They're the Flying Squirrels, which
is it in Richmond?
The Fighting Squirrels. They're
Fighting Squirrels.
They're the Fighting Squirrels, and they're in Staunton.
Okay, the reason I ask is because the minor league team in Richmond is the Flying Squirrels. So, but these are Fighting Squirrels, and they're in Staunton.
I don't know which is more intimidating, right? The Flying Squirrels or the Fighting Squirrels? This is a soft segue into Wild and Wacky here with the mascot. But something's going on in Virginia with the squirrels, right?
I think I would be a little bit more intimidated by a Fighting Squirrel. Maybe a Flying Squirrel would just avoid me.
Yeah, but just duck out of the way.
Yeah.
So he got his head coaching chops there, and then he's been an assistant at Fordham, Utah State, and Sacred Heart. So he comes in with some Division I experience, and that closes a good little chapter for UTS because they were without a coach for a couple months there. So that is kind of some good news. And as I mentioned, the men's basketball, haven't heard much chatter. Kind of quiet on the campus in that regard for men's basketball, but Coach James. And looks like he's going to keep his assistant, who's a former UTS standout, Maria Zimdars. She played for Coach Evans and then came on as an assistant. Looks like she's going to stay. And that's about all UTS got going on at the moment. Kind of quiet, as you know, during some of these small college summer months, but a couple of big pieces of news there.
He looks like a relatively young guy, 2009 graduate of Millsaps.
Yeah, seems like he's got, a decent resume coming in. And this is kind of an interesting hire, right? Because for all the success that UTS men's basketball has had, their women's program has not. They've had some flashes, but they haven't had sustained success except for the years when Kyle Bent was their women's coach. And so having Coach James come in, maybe some chops. He's been around small colleges. I think that's kind of a key piece of the puzzle too. We put these big resumes on paper, and yeah, they look cool and they look fancy. You've had some Division I experience, but until you've coached and kind of been in the nitty gritty at these smaller schools, sometimes that accounts, in my opinion, more than your Division I experience. So I'm excited to see what he kind of brings to the table, because that's a program that had kind of been on the come up. And then when Coach Billy Evans took over, as we mentioned, by his own admission, he said, I've got a good roster and this is a good program. I just hadn't done a good job with it.
I do appreciate that candor.
That is Billy Evans to a T. He will be sorely missed. For me personally, for a variety of reasons. He's one of my neighbors first and foremost, but number two, he is a walking soundbite, and he tells it exactly like it is. And he's got that candor and that refreshing quote coach speak about him for sure. But yeah, he'll be missed in the community. But he did a good job for everything outside of wins and losses, which at a small school sometimes wins and losses aren't your true goal or objective, right? I know that sounds weird to say, but at a smaller school, sometimes a lot more goes into it than that.
Absolutely. Speaking of coaching changes, we have seen one in the area high school soccer ranks, as Brentwood High School's Mike Purcell announced over the weekend he will be stepping down. Speaking of friends of the show, Charles Pulliam of the Williamson Herald has an article on Coach Purcell's retirement after 22 seasons at the top of the Bruins program, which included 15 state tournament berths and 5 TSSAA state championships. That's not bad.
Man, yeah. When you just say Brentwood soccer, you think of Coach Purcell and you just think of excellence, right? I mean, 350 plus wins.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned 15 state tournament trips at the highest level.
Right.
It's kind of interesting too, because not all sports, the best quote unquote quality gets played at the highest classification. But in soccer, it feels like that's one sport where AAA, I mean, that is your elite of elite. So we're talking about a titan in terms of high school soccer coaching in our neck of the woods.
From 2002 to 2010, he coached both girls and boys, led the Brentwood Lady Bruins to 4 state tournament appearances and a 2008 state runner-up finish. That year, he won one of his 2 National Soccer Coaches Association of America Coach of the Year honors. So, they won consecutive state championships in 22 and 23, going undefeated in 23, earning a Max Preps national #1 ranking. Fell in the sectionals this year to Hendersonville on PKs. And so that was the way the 73-year-old Purcell went out, who has battled some health issues of late and is stepping down to devote a little more time to those. But goodness gracious, what a career for him.
Outstanding stuff. I love his quote. He said, "Hey man, I'm 73 years old. Give me a break."
Give me a break.
I mean, job well done, and that will be fascinating to see if they continue that great level of success. And I think he's done a good enough job that the program is set up to continue to be successful.
You would think so, but it's always interesting, like you said, when a Titan steps down like that, just how well you are able to maintain that level of competitiveness. So we'll certainly bear watching. Oklahoma hoping to maintain its level of competition and maybe raise it, as they extended Brent Venables here recently, heading into the Sooners' first year in the Southeastern Conference. 6-year extension for Venables, who is 16-10 in 2 seasons.
Yeah, doesn't seem the best, but it almost feels like, hey, at least right now, this is the best we've got. And it kind of just feels like, we talked a little bit about it on the show yesterday, specifically Oklahoma. That's a program that is right up there. And it's one that doesn't necessarily inspire a ton of confidence when you say that record like that. But feels like Oklahoma, they catch fire in the SEC. And with the expanded playoff, maybe, don't have to necessarily go 12-0, 13-0 every year to really kind of start making some moves. And how much of this obviously comes down to postseason success. If you go 11-2, but you sneak in the playoff and then you make one hot playoff run, all of a sudden everybody's thinking you're a genius, right?
Yeah. And any coach will tell you that recruiting is the lifeblood, and this is probably as much a strike at that as anything. A 6-year extension pretty well says you're off the hot seat, and there's plenty of money in Oklahoma. If they decide to get rid of him, the length of contract is not going to be an issue. But the perception is, well, he's safe. They've just extended him for 6 years. So it's interesting. He was in year 3 of a 6-year deal. So they have added another 6.
What did I just see here too? I got my fancy new Phil Steele, which we'll be referencing a lot at media days. Let's see here. Oklahoma is not, necessarily projected. They're in a tie for 5th right now in the SEC, according to Phil Steele. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, and then Missouri and Oklahoma. The crazy thing is, as we've discussed, though, is you don't now, thanks to this playoff expansion, have to be number 1 or number 2.
No, you don't.
But I am very interested to see. So much of this has been about Texas on this show today, but I'm very interested to see how Oklahoma kind of fits into this puzzle going forward.
Sure. Yeah. There are those that would kind of tell you they're the other team that's coming, but
right. And that's public perception wise. That's how it feels, right? Oklahoma's probably like, man, what do we got to do to get some love here? Or maybe,
well, you got to not be 16-10 in back-to-back seasons, I guess.
Not be 16-10, not have these crazy baseball coaching hires. Maybe Oklahoma's kind of just trying to lay in the weeds a little bit here somewhat.
It's been announced here in the last couple of days that the LA Sparks' Derica Hamby will replace Cam Brink on the U.S. 3x3 women's basketball team for the upcoming Olympics. I think Hamby was kind of the last person out when that roster was created for the Paris Olympics. So she will be taking her place along with currently Haley Van Lith, Sierra Burdick, and Ron Howard when they go to Paris after Brink tore ACL on June 18th against the Sun. So they're teammates in the WNBA.
At least keep it in-house, right? And she's about the same, Brink a little taller, a little lengthier probably, but roughly the same in terms of height, maybe just losing an inch there. So kind of keep, I guess, somewhat, it's not a true plug and play, obviously, because Cam Brink's kind of a unicorn in that regard, but at least keep it a little kind of in flow, if you will.
Hamby won a gold medal with Team USA in the FIBA 3x3 America Cup last year and earned tournament MVP honors, and has been involved in Team USA 5-on-5 programs for the last couple of years. So nice pickup there. Meanwhile, speaking of Ron Howard, her status is still undecided after she injured that ankle here about 10 days ago. She is still not back for the Atlanta Dream, and not sure when she will be back either for them or how this is going to affect her availability for Paris. So keeping an eye on that as well, because man, that would be tough if you have to replace half of your 4-player roster for the Olympics.
Yeah, presumably, still good enough to win the thing, but in a sport where you're only having 4 players, losing 2 of your top ones doesn't seem like a great situation, right?
Yeah. Finally in the grab bag, I don't know that there was a more fascinating participant in March Madness than NC State's DJ Burns, the former Tennessee signee who really kind of sprang onto the national landscape with the Wolfpack's run through the ACC tournament and through the NCAA tournament into the Final Four as a number 11 seed. Well, DJ, since last seen, has dropped 45 pounds.
Wow.
Getting ready for his next step as he, again, tries to secure the bag. But, man, this is a great article on him on CBSSports.com by Matt Norlander. If you get a chance, go check that out, because this guy, he's just a guy that you kind of root for. I feel like just his personality and everything makes you want to see good things happen for him. And this article just continues to kind of bear that out. So not sure if he's going to hear his name. Certainly not tonight. Not sure if he's going to hear it tomorrow night, or what's going to wind up happening with him at the professional level. But like I said, he is just a guy that you kind of root for, I think, and I'm hoping for the best for him. So
absolutely. And there was some chatter, would he consider getting into the NFL? And he said absolutely not a couple months ago. So he's already closed the door on one draft, so it's good to see that he's doing absolutely the best he can to get ready for this one. And yeah, it'd be great if he could sneak in. Looks like maybe in that late second round tomorrow night, perhaps.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we didn't get to ask Teresa about this, Mo, but our boy, Zach is flying up the draft boards. This was a guy that just a few weeks ago was middle of the second round at best on virtually every mock, but now several mocks have him going potentially at some point tonight in the first round, which is just going to be wild, because I don't know what that speaks to. I don't know if he's done something. I don't know if teams are just in a panic over big men now all of a sudden or what, but this is a guy that, basically was kind of left for dead in terms of draft potential. It just feels like a few weeks ago. But as we were talking to Teresa, I'm just going through almost every mock has him potentially going somewhere in the first round tonight. Later in the first round, but in the first round, which is crazy to think about.
I think, Wade, it may be more, like you said, of a big man run kind of thing than anything. I think some folks might be panicking a little over the absence thereof, because I don't know how much he could have done to really change who or what he is. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes tonight or tomorrow or when it is. But it'll be something to keep an eye on.
If the Grizz don't trade up and get Klingon, or if they do something weird and end up taking Edie, I will probably cry tears on the show tomorrow. We've mentioned I was in Las Vegas at the old rest in peace ESPN zone when they drafted Hasheem Thabit, and I cried then, and I probably will cry tonight if they take Edie as well. So they need a big man, but not that bad.
Not that big man. Yeah.
Right.
Sounds 12. Jacksonville 11, final in 10 innings. Let's see. Astros finally defeated Colorado 7-1, and the Braves are up 6-2 in the top of the 8th on St. Louis as we close out the grab bag here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Let's go to a break, and when we come back, it'll be Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Stay tuned.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the National Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Wade Neely, Maurice Patton. We will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe that we can find, and we will start in Sacramento, California. A donkey that ran away from his California home 5 years ago was recently found alive, living with a herd of wild elk. We've talked about elk and mooses and that moose, I guess, and that type thing on this show. I don't know that we've talked about donkeys, but Diesel the donkey disappeared in April 2019 during a hike when he got spooked and bolted. His owners looked for him for weeks and then just kind of gave up hope on him. Earlier this year, a hunter spotted Diesel amongst a herd of at least a dozen elk in the Northern California wilderness. Former owners Terry and Dave Drury saw the video that the hunter had taken and posted to Instagram and confirmed that it was in fact Diesel. The herd was only a few miles from where Diesel had disappeared 5 years ago. Terry Drury said, "Finally, we saw him. Finally, we know he's good. He's living his best life. He's happy. He's healthy. And it was just a relief. Not going to try to bring him back home because he seems to be living his best life, happy and healthy with the elk herd." A donkey in the midst of elk. I don't know. I guess it's working for Diesel, though, right?
Yeah, Diesel. It's good to hear. It seems like he's living his best life, and yeah, I'm curious. How was that initial meeting? How did that go down?
I don't know if Diesel had to take a couple of knocks to the head with no horns, or how that worked out, or maybe they took pity on him because he didn't have horns and said, "Come on, we got you." I don't know how that works, but I'm glad Diesel is okay.
Yeah, Diesel.
I'm trying to imagine a pet donkey, though.
Yeah, and the owner's probably also like, he's acting a little happier than when we had him. Maybe he's I love this quote at the end, said, quote, "He's truly a wild burro now." So he's out living. Big Diesel. I'm with you though. I'm wondering if there was some sort of initiation or
did he get jumped into the elk herd or what?
Right. Because I'm curious if he had to beg for entry or they just kind of accepted him. But that is a nice, heartwarming story. And then if you're the owner though, you're probably like, man, I went out and bought a whole new donkey probably, and then Diesel was out here the whole time. You could have at least told me.
Yeah, Diesel can't come back. We can't afford 2 pet donkeys. Yeah. Speaking of wildlife, in Alaska, an Alaskan man and police saved a baby moose trapped in a lake as its worried mom watches. An Alaska man and 2 police officers rescued a baby moose from what police described as, quote, "a sure demise," after it fell into a lake and got stuck in a narrow space between a float plane and a dock. The floats replaced the wheels on a plane, allowing it to take off and land on water. This calf was in the lake. Mom couldn't help it. Mom was keeping an eye on the folks trying to save her baby, while at the same time the baby was going to die if they didn't save him. So it's really a dicey situation there. One officer parked his police cruiser between the Mama Moose and the plane
Mm.
to allow a second officer and this Alaskan man to rescue the calf. Had one leg outstretched over the top of the plane's float, the calf did, where it was stuck. So they were eventually able to just lift him out, put him on the dock, and reunite him with his mom. So I guess this is one of those rare situations where messing with the animals was okay.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, after the stories we've read the last couple of weeks, man, I don't know if you could have paid me enough money to pull off that move. And
No, because we know how mamas get about their babies.
yeah, it seems like it was well orchestrated, but plans can go awry quickly, and I don't know if I want any part of that.
And animals aren't the most predictable.
Mm-mm.
So yeah,
that
one
you
worked out
escaped
well.
that, and you're okay. But I'm glad that everybody there's a happy ending to this. As we needed a little bit of good news. This is the week of the good news with the wildlife. It feels like the last couple have been they've been angry at us for whatever reasons, and so I'm glad to hear that things are kind of taking a little bit of an uptick, at least at this point.
Wade, it looks like your monolith has been dealt with.
Ooh, tell me more.
Shiny monolith removed from mountains outside Las Vegas. How it got there is still a mystery. A strange monolith found jutting out of the rocks in a remote mountain range near Vegas has been taken down by authorities. How it got there is still unsolved. Why move it?
I'm wondering that too, right? I mean, it's already
What's
out
it
there.
hurting? I mean, I wonder what it took to move it. It doesn't say. Like, I'd love to know how big it was, how heavy it was, that kind of thing. But
yeah, are we talking helicopter or like a Toyota Tacoma type situation?
All right. It was the latest discovery in a series of mysterious columns that have popped up since at least 2020. In November of that year, a similar metal monolith was found deep in the Mars-like landscape of Utah's Red Rock Desert. Then came sightings in Romania, Central California, New Mexico, and on the famed Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas. All of them disappeared as quickly as they popped up, adding to the lore.
It's a little too eerie for me. The fact that they kind of just keep popping up, right?
Yeah. The Utah monolith had been embedded in the rock in an area so remote that officials didn't immediately reveal its location for fear of people getting lost or stranded while trying to find it. But internet sleuths quickly found the coordinates, and hordes of curious tourists eager to see and touch the otherworldly object arrived, flattening plants with their cars and leaving behind human waste in the bathroom-free backcountry.
Oh.
People will people. Authorities said the same concerns led them to tear down the latest monolith on Thursday. So now we know why they tore it down. It was illegally installed on federal land, established to protect bighorn sheep, and is home to rare plants and desert tortoises. The Desert National Wildlife Refuge, which is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, is the largest wildlife refuge outside of Alaska and can cover the state of Rhode Island twice.
Wow.
That's Wild and Wacky. That's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Tune in tomorrow at 2 o'clock when our guests are Jeff Forehand, Lipscomb baseball coach, and Heather Williams as we talk a little NASCAR. We will see you right here at 2 o'clock. Y'all have a great rest of your hump day.